The greatest loneliness isn't isolation and being away from people. The greatest loneliness is being misunderstood. When you just can't seem to find any person who understands what you're trying to do or why you're trying to do it, and because they don't understand what you're trying to do or why you're trying to do it, they really don't know who you are. And it's frustrating because you see your vision, you see your goal, you might feel like you might have been called by God, and so you feel like what you're doing is right. But in the moment, there isn't worldly success happening. There isn't acquiescence to the voices of the world telling you what you should do. You're going against the world, and people see it and they don't comprehend. They don't understand. And if the number of people who don't understand is zero, that is the most lonely place to be, because especially if you don't know yourself, if you don't know thyself, then you start to question if what you're doing actually is right. And we have a loneliness epidemic right now in this country, America, and probably in the world. And I don't think it's because we don't spend time with each other. I think often we do spend time with each other. But even when we're surrounded by people, if they don't understand you and you don't understand them, then even someone who's in the same room as you feels like they're a universe away. It feels like they're not even in the same galaxy as you. And I realized this because 3 months ago I just ended my journey living in a van. That was 1,000 miles away from every single person who I've known and loved for the entirety of my life. And there would be days that I would be laying down in the back of this minivan, and I realized that the whole day had passed and I'd spoken no words to anyone. Hadn't used my vocal cords. And I was becoming deprived. I was becoming socially deprived, like a newborn baby who needs to be touched and talked to and spoken to, but wasn't. And it's a physical need, just like eating and drinking is a physical need. We need each other like we need the air that we breathe. And so something that I'm trying to do more of in my life is take responsibility for the fact that I am misunderstood. Rather than let the frustration manifest and be angry at other people for not understanding what it is that I'm trying to do and why I'm trying to do it, and thus don't really understand who I am, I need to tell them. I need to tell them. And I'm on a journey to pursue God, to grow closer to God. And every day that I wake up in the morning, whether I'm physically walking around outside or in prayer or even in meditation, I try to walk with God. I try to start my day with God, walking with God. And what that means is, it means looking towards love and ultimate reality and the things that God is, but it also means remembering the brevity of life. Remembering that, God willing, one day I'll be an 85-year-old man, and imagining the 85-year-old man that I'll be, and then that 85 man is opening his eyes in my bed like it's a dream, and he's only 29 years old again. What would he do with the day that he has? What would he actually do with the time that he has remaining? And that's how I remember the brevity of life. That life is short, and as long as I keep going, as long as I stay alive, I will reach that point. And I don't want to have any regrets. I don't want to leave any of the time that God has allotted me untapped. And so I'm working on being more explicit about what it is that I'm trying to do and why it's important to me. And rather than being frustrated with others not understanding me, taking the accountability upon myself and trying to gap that bridge with words. Trying to bridge that gap with words. But the other aspect of that is sometimes, no matter how immense your vocabulary, no matter how articulate you are, some people are not going to understand you. It's almost like they're choosing to not understand you. And so what do you do in that situation? Well, there's a movie called Unbroken. And there's such a powerful motif that's painted in this movie, and it's common in other movies as well. The main character is a prisoner in a Japanese war camp. He's an American soldier who's been prisoner for several years. And he's antagonized by this soldier, this officer in the opposing military. And this leader of the opposing military singles this one soldier out, beats him, has the other prisoners beat him, makes him do extra work all of the time. He's just against the main character. But at the end of the movie, the leader of the opposing military has him lift a log over his head, lift a log over the main character's head. And he says, if you drop this log, we're going to execute you. The moment you drop this log, we're going to execute you. And he's broken. His body is shattered. He's been beaten. He can barely lift the log up at all. But when he lifts the log, he holds it above his head, and everyone expects him to drop it right away. But he just keeps holding it. And then time passes, and as he keeps holding it, the other prisoners stop what they're doing. They're working, but they stop what they're doing and they look over because they realize something is happening. And the leader of the opposing military starts to become frustrated and angry because he expected the main character to drop the log, but he's not dropping the log, and an absurd amount of time just keeps passing. He's not dropping the log. And it reaches a point of turning the other cheek and leaning into the persecution that is coming towards him. That an apotheosis comes not to the main character, but the main character brings apotheosis to his enemy. As in, it gets to a point where even the leader of the opposing military gets so frustrated and walks away because he lost. Even though he had all of the power, he lost just because the main character persisted. And it happens in the Bible as well. And I'll talk about Passion of the Christ because it's depicted so perfectly. But there's a scene in the Passion of the Christ where Jesus is getting whipped and hundreds of times, whipped mercilessly. And they just keep whipping him until his body gives out and he collapses onto the floor. But when he collapses on the floor, they start to hang their whips up. It's basically over. His body is broken. The Pharisees are watching. Jesus' mother and friends are watching. But despite the fact that he just got beat hundreds of times, he stands back up. He stands back up, only to let them beat him with even more brutal torture tools. Whips that have nails at the end of them that will go right into his skin. And the Pharisees who were watching were like, something is happening here. This is a Bob Dylan song, and Bob Dylan says, something is happening here and you just don't know what it is. And the Pharisees are watching, and they realize when Jesus stands up that something is happening here, and they just don't know what it is. And they leave. They walk away. And so sometimes that's all that we can do. Don't get frustrated at the fact that people don't understand what it is that you're trying to do or why you're trying to do it. Tell them, explain it to them. Let yourself be known, let yourself be understood, but there will reach a point where people choose to not understand you. There are some people who will choose not to understand you, but persist. And in your persistence, you will change your enemies. Your enemies will realize that the way that they're acting and the way that they're living their life and their worldview might not be right. And not only can you accomplish what it is that you were trying to do, you could even change your enemies.